Welcome to Mike's Mr. October and More, Episode 8. Recently, I did an episode of My All Star Team for the 1960s, so I did a follow-up, My All Star Team of the 1970s. So I broke out my 1979 top set, and to be honest with you, I hadn't looked in this set probably 25 years easily. So the cards are nice and crisp. They're beautiful. So anyways, I got to start with my catcher, and he's probably the greatest catcher of all time, and most definitely the best catcher in the 1970s, and that would be none other than Johnny Bench. Part of the Big Red Machine. I love how this card is presented. We're on the top row, horizontally. It's an all-star, his name, and then the team he had played for. So Johnny Bench hit 290 home runs, 1,013 RBIs, and a 267 average. He was a two-time All-Star, 1970 and 72. He was an All-Star every year during the 1970s. He was World Series champion in 1975 and 76. 76, he was the World Series MVP. Phenomenal series. He destroyed the Yankees, and that's when Thurman Munson in the same series batted over 500. But anyways, going on to my next position, and that would be my first baseman, none other than the hitting machine, Rod Carew. Typical Rod Carew batting stance, where he would lean back and hit baseball. But anyways, Rod Carew hit 60 home runs, 628 RBIs, and this is an unbelievable batting average. In the 1970s, he batted .343. He was an MVP in 1977. I wonder why. Not just kidding. But that year, he batted .388, which is unbelievable. Now, if you compare him and George Brett, nothing to take away from George Brett in 1980, but Rod Carew had considerably more at-bats than George Brett in 1980. He was a MVP every year during the 1970s. He had 1,787 hits, and this is an unbelievable stat. Get this, 5 times, that's 5 times he batted .350 or better during a season, which is unheard of nowadays. Now, moving on, for my second baseman, he started his career originally with the Colt 45s, and he was traded in the early 70s, and that would be none other than Joe Morgan. And if you ever saw Joe Morgan play, he had that famous stance where he did his chicken wing flapping when he came to bat. Great ball player all around. So Joe Morgan hit 173 home runs, 720 RBIs, and a .282 average. He was a 9-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 75 and 76. Also, of course, a 2-time World Series winner, same years. He had 1,005 runs, and which tells you he was on base an awful lot of times. And he had 488 stolen bases, which is phenomenal. For my shortstop, I was going back and forth, but I'm a big fan of this player, and he was definitely a spark plug for a 3-time World Series team, and that would be none other than Bert Campaneris. It was between him and Dave Concepcion. But back in the 1970s and 60s and before, shortstops weren't really considered heavy hitters, just great fielders and, could get on base. Really didn't change until the 1980s when Cal Ripken came aboard. But anyways, Bert Campaneris hit 30 home runs, 406 RBIs and a 250 average. I know it's not the greatest, but he was definitely the spark plug for the swinging A's, where they were in the playoffs from 1971 to 75. Five-time All-Star, 336 stolen bases, and of course he was part of the three-time world champ Oakland A's, which would have been 72, 73, and 74, which is unheard of nowadays. So it was said that, you know, if Bert Campaneris gets on base, so go the A's. Anyways, if you saw the World Series, he was, get this, he was the first player in the 1974 World Series, no, 73 World Series against the New York Mets. In Game 7 was the first Oakland A to hit a home run the whole series, and then Mr. October, Reggie Jackson, follow up with a home run and became MVP that World Series. But anyways, my next position is third baseman, probably the greatest third baseman or the greatest third baseman of all time, and that would be Mike Schmidt. Phenomenal player. Actually, he didn't start his career until 73, if I'm not mistaken. He was on the top series 3-panel card. But anyways, Mike Schmidt hit 235 home runs, 666 RBIs, 255 average, 4-time All-Star, and get this, 5 times he hit 35 home runs or more. Phenomenal ball player, great power, and of course he finished his career with over 500 home runs. I got to go on to my outfield, and now my first outfielder, and after my channel name, it's going to be none other than Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. Beautiful card and photo of Reggie Jackson. I was lucky enough to see Reggie Jackson play numerous times, beginning on August 11th, 1973, with the Oakland A's, Old Timers Day at the old Yankee Stadium, and then saw him subsequent numerous times at the stadium with my late father, and also saw him hit his 400th home run, and also was at his induction with my wife at Cooperstown. But anyways, he hit 292 home runs, 922 RBIs, and a 275 average. 8-time All-Star, MVP in the American League in 1973. And get this, a whopping 5 times World Series champ. 3 times with the Oakland A's and 2 times with the Yankees. 1973 MVP in the World Series, and 1977 MVP World Series with the Yankees. And if you've ever seen this video, he hit a towering, monstrous home run off of Doc Ellison in 1971 All-Star game. Hit the light transformer, and it had been estimated to travel over 530 feet. Phenomenal power. My next player is going to be Bobby Bonds. And I was lucky enough to see Bobby Bonds play with the New York Yankees with their only season. He played with them, which was 1974 at Shea Stadium. Great player. Speed, power. Unfortunately, he struck out a lot of times. But he also held the Major League record for most leadoff home runs until none other than Rickey Henderson came along and shattered that easily. But anyways, Bobby Bonds had 280 home runs, 856 RBIs, 272 average, 3-time All-Star, and 9 times he hit 20 or more home runs, and 6 times he had 40 or more stolen bases in the season. And if I said 74 with the Yankees, it was 75, so my mistake. Correction. Now, my next outfielder might be a little controversial, but I had to fit him in. His first part of his playing season in the 1970s, he did play outfield, and then he went to first base, but I had to get him in, and that would be none other than Willie Stargell. And just to show he did play outfield, he is in a 1972 Topps card for the World Series. And that's Willie Stargell in the background, a slim Willie Stargell. And whoever forget seeing Willie Stargell, if you ever seen him play, he did the windmill swing, and then tremendous power, unbelievable power. But anyways, Willie Stargell hit 296 home runs, 906 RBIs, a 287 average, 4-time All-Star. He was an MVP in 1979, also a World Series MVP in 1979. And he also was part of the winning World Series Pittsburgh Pirates in 1971 with his teammate Roberto Clemente. 2 times he hit 40 or more home runs in the season. Great player. I loved watching Willie. Anyways, going on to my pitchers, I went on a 4-man rotation like my 1960s card, All-Star, and that would have been, excuse me, none other than Tom "Terrific" Seaver. And that's with the Cincinnati Reds. But Tom Seaver had 178 wins with 101 losses, a 2.61 ERA, 2,304 strikeouts, 8-time All-Star, and a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. Phenomenal player. I did get to meet him once at a baseball writers dinner in New York City. I do have photos of him up close, which I'll probably show another time. Some of the photos of players who attended that dinner. But anyways, my next pitcher would be none other than Steve Carlton, lefty, another Hall of Famer. He had 178 wins, just like Tom Seaver, 126 losses. That's due in part because he played with a terrible team in the early 70s. But anyways, he had a 3.21 ERA, 2,097 strikeouts, 5-time All-Star, and a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. And my next pitcher would be none other than Jim Palmer. Phenomenal pitcher. His record was 186 and 103 losses, a 2.58 ERA, 1,559 strikeouts, 6-time All-Star, and get this, he won 3 Cy Young Awards in the 1970s and a 1-time World Series winner. And if you were around, he also did underwear commercials. Actually, he once he was inducted to Hall of Fame, he tried to come back, but he was unsuccessful. That would have been interesting if he came back to play after 5 years hiatus. And my last pitcher, which may be a little controversial, but it was between this pitcher and Fergie Jenkins, but I decided to go with the Ryan Express, Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan was 155 wins on 146 losses, a 3.23 ERA, 2,678 strikeouts, a 5-time All-Star, and get this, 5 times. He struck out over 300 batters in the season and also set the major league record for most strikeouts in a season. He shattered Sandy Koufax's record for strikeouts in a season. Phenomenal player. And we know he ended up with his career with 7 no-hitters, which I don't think will ever be broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a recap of all the players' cards. So let me turn around the camera. Recap of my 1970s All-Star team. So the 2 players here are not Hall of Famers. One definitely should be a Hall of Famer, and that would be Bobby Bonds. But he is not in the Hall of Fame. Who knows perhaps one of these days he may get into a hole. But anyways, I hope you liked and enjoyed this video. And if you like, just leave some comments. So, till next time, thank you very much for watching Mike's Mr. October and more.